Hello everyone, welcome to the Exam Ignite module-wise series of the Biology for Engineers. Today we will start with the Human Organ and Biodesign Module 3. Module 1 and Module 2 I have done, and the links are in the description box. Please refer that. In this module, this is a part 1 video where you will be learning about brain as a CPU system, eye as a camera system, and heart as a pump system. These are the main topics that we will be covering in this session. First question, compare the human brain as a CPU based on their characteristics. So based on the features, you have to compare both of them. Human brain and CPU. Structure, human brain is made up of neurons and neural networks. Here it is made up of silicon, circuits and transistors. Processing unit is cerebral cortex. Here it is ALU, arithmetic logic unit and control unit. Processing time, it is parallel and distributed. Processing, here it is sequential. Speed, it is slower in hertz and fast. This is faster in gigahertz range. Energy efficiency, it is extremely efficient. It consumes more power. Learning capabilities, here it learns and adopts through the experience, our brain. But here no self-learning unless programmed with the AI for the CPU. Memory, this is having short term plus long term. Here we are having RAM and ROM. Data storage is distributed across the neurons. Here it is stored in a specific memory location. Fault tolerance can recover and rewrite after the damage, but here usually fails in the hardware is damaged. Emotions and creativity, it is capable of emotions and creativity. Here it lacks emotions and runs logic-based task. So this is our brain. You have to write the diagram, and this is input from the device. This is the CPU. We have control unit, ALU, registers with a memory unit, and this is the output of the block diagram of CPU. Next comes distinguish between central nervous system and peripheral nervous system in human body. So the nervous system is body's communication network. It is broadly classified as CNS and PNS. CNS includes brain and spinal cord. PNS includes all the nerve outside the CNS. On comparing, we are having what are the it is constitutes of it is brain and CPU. This is cranial nerves, spinal nerves, and the peripheral nerve. Location, it is located in the skull and the vertebral cortex. This is located outside the CNS. What is the function then? It processes the information, decision making. Here it transmits the signal between the CNS and rest of the body. It is protected by what? Brain is protected by skull, vertebrae, and the cerebrospinal fluid for the spinal cord. This is not enclosed in a bone. It is protected by only the connective tissues. Neurons, here mainly it is interneurons. Here contains sensory and motor neurons. Regeneration ability, very limited regeneration. This has high potential for regeneration and repair. Next, subdivisions. So brain is made up of cerebrum and cerebellum, brainstem, and spinal cord does not have anything. Here, PNS is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. Nervous system, it is made up of two. One is central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system. See, only the brain and spinal cord, this is overall body. Again, peripheral is autonomous nervous system and somatic. What is autonomous? It communicates with the internal organs and glands. Somatic nervous system, it communicates with the sense organs and the voluntary muscles. This is again divided into two types. That is sympathetic division and parasympathetic division. Sympathetic is arousing and this is calming. Here now, somatic nervous system is of again two types. One is sensory, afferent nervous system where sensory input. Motor, it is afferent nervous system where motor output. Some of the important points you have to mention here is CNS is a control center, processing all the incoming data and generating responses. PNS acts as a communicating line, delivering commands and collecting sensory input. Damage to CNS can cause paralysis, whereas PNS damage may affect the reflexes or sensations. The PNS also includes the autonomic system, which controls involuntary actions like the heartbeat and digestion. Next question, what is EEG? Explain the main types of brain activity that can be detected with EEG. So EEG, it is a non-invasive method to record the brain's electrical activity using the electrodes placed on the scalp of our brain. It measures the voltage changes due to the neuron activity, especially in the cerebral cortex. When neurons communicate, they generate the electrical impulses. So the impulses can be detected on the scalp by the electrodes in the standardized position, that is 10 to 20 system. Based on that, we get the rays, that is gamma rays, beta rays, alpha rays, theta, and delta. So delta, see, when you are sleeping or dreaming, the waves will be like this. When you are drowsing, it's like this. When you are like restful, peaceful, or meditating, your waves will be like this. When your brain is active, that is busy, it comes like this. When you are solving problems or concentrating on something, it comes like this. So that is what given here in the frequency terms and the health. What are the uses is we get to know the diagnosing some LPC and sleep disorders, brain computer interface, neuroscience and the mental health research it helps. Next, explain the robotic arm prosthetic direct control through the muscle signals. Next question. So here robotic arm prosthetic the direct control through the muscle signals rely on the electromyography EMG, which records the electrical activity that is produced by our skeletal muscles, and these signals are then interpreted by a microcontroller or a processor to move it to the robotic arm. I'll explain the working with help of diagram. So firstly, muscle signal is generated. In our body, muscle signal is generated. When the person intends to move their hand, neurons activate, right? They produce an electrical potentials of 0.1 to 5 millivolts on the skin surface. Now there is an EMG sensor. EMG sensor, the surface of the EMG electrodes are placed on the skin, right? So we from that, this sensor detect the electrical signals and send them to the processing unit. What is a processing unit we use? We use analog to digital converter further after the Arduino or anything to convert it. So the raw EMG signal is amplified, filtered, and then converted using the ADC. Now next, it is control algorithm. Here basically it is controlled by a microcontroller. We use Arduino example that interprets the signal pattern. Now the predefined signal thresholds correspond to the specific arm movement like open or close. That actuation, so based on the interpreted command, the actuator or the motor in the prosthetic arm execute the movement. So feedback mechanism like the sensors or vibration can inform the user about the movement or grip pressure. So this is the diagram, or else see what the movement is done here, that goes to the Arduino. Here we are having EMG sensor, and next it goes to the MATLAB Simlink and the serial communication finally to the robotic arm. This is used in the amateurs to regain the hand functionality. It can be trained to perform the multiple gestures like gripping, lifting, and rotating. What is Parkinson's disease? Mention the engineering solutions aim to improving the quality of the life for individual with the Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease, it is a progressive neurological disorder. It is caused by the degeneration of the dopamine producing neurons in the substantia nigra region of our brain. What are the symptoms? Resting tremors, slowness of our movement, then muscle stiffness, that is rigidity, postural instability, speech and swallowing difficulties. What happens is, this is a normal neuron. It releases a dopamine. The dopamine levels in the normal human being. So there will be a normal movement. But for the Parkinson's affected neuron, the dopamine release will not be there. Degeneration, that is what. So the movement disorders. This causes based on the might be a genetic mutation, or you can say environmental toxins that enter to our body, age-related degeneration. Coming to the engineering solution, firstly they have designed a deep brain simulation. Here we implant an electrodes that deliver the electrical pulses to the brain. Okay, this reduces the tremors and improves the motor function. Next, wearable assistive devices, like we can use smart gloves, exoskeletons, and the tremors, suppressing gadgets that help for the daily activity. Use of gyroscopes and accelerometer for the motion control. Now we have jet assistant devices like lasers or audio cues that helps to overcome fizzing of gate. Next, AI-based monitoring system. Here, we detect the fluctuations in the motor symptoms and adjust the medication or the therapy automatically via a mobile health app. Speech therapy, like uses speech recognition and feedback to help the patients to maintain their vocal clarity. Brain machine interfaces, BMI. This research is progress to directly interface brain signals with the robotic limbs or the mobility devices. So main thing is this is a chronic disease, but we can manage it. Engineering aids significantly help in improving the impedance and the mobility, and interdisciplinary efforts in the biomedical engineering, AI, and robotics are the key future treatments. Next question is write a neat diagram of the neuron, explain the process of signal transmission. So, neuron is the basic structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It transmits the electrochemical signals throughout the body. This is dendrites, this is nucleus, this is the cell body, soma, axon, this is the myelin sheath, this is the node of granule, this is a Schwann cell, and this is the axon terminal. You have to write this neuron structure. Next steps, how it transmits is, firstly dendrites, it receives the incoming signal from the another neuron. Now integration where happens is in the cell body, where it processes the incoming signal and generates an action potential if the stimulus is strong. Next is conduction, where in the axon it travels, the impulses travel. So myelin sheath is present because it speeds up the signal transmission. Okay. Finally, it is transmitted at the axon terminals. It reaches and the signal reaches the synapse. Finally, what happens? There will be a response. The chemical bind to the receptors or on the next neuron or the target, continuing the signal. What is the conclusion is? Neurons involves electrical conduction along the axon, chemical transmission across the synapses, ensuring fast and accurate communication in a nervous system. What are the main components of the eye that correspond to the camera system and explain its working? You have to compare the camera with an eye. Okay, see, first comparison is this is eye component, this is camera, and what is the function? Corneal aqueous humor, that is outer part of our eye, and here this is the outer lens of the camera. This helps in the initial focusing of the light. Next comes our iris part. Iris here that is equal to diaphragm. That is it controls the amount of light entering. Pupil. Next pupil here it is the aperture opening here. It is adjustable light entry point. How much light should enter. Next comes lens. Here the camera lens. Here the eye lens. It focuses the image on the retina. Then finally retina. What is this retina? Here it is a film in the camera. Okay, it detects the light and forms the image. Finally, we are having an optical now to transfer it to the brain. Here we have a data cable to transfer. Next, working of an eye, like eye and light entry. Light enters through the corneal pupil. So light control iris, it adjusts the size of the pupil to the control brightness. Focusing the lens, adjusts the shape and focuses on the retina. Image formation is retina captures the image and converts it into inner impulse. Discuss the architecture of the rod and cone cells. So these two are the photoreceptors that are present in the retina of our eye. They convert the light into electrical signals and send them back via a optical. So this is a rod and this is a cone. Rod, I'll explain. See, the shape is long and a bit cylindrical. The function is what? It is responsible for the vision in dim light, that is night vision. Okay, location it is present in the peripheral retina. Pigment, it contains rhodopsin, that is a light sensitive pigment. Sensitivity, it is very sensitive to light but cannot detect any color. How much quantity? It is present over 120 million in the human retina. Cone cells, it is, see, you can observe it is a bit shape of cone. It is responsible for the color vision and the sharp central vision. Location, it is in the central retina. Pigment, it is having iodopsin, which is sensitive to RGB, that is red, green, and blue. Sensitive and work in the bright light and provide a high visual acuity, and it is around 6 million in our retina. So you can compare the both of them and learn optical correction and refractive errors. So optical correction is nothing but slight modifications of a straight line to appear the visually correct. Techniques, we use lens or surgery to correct. What are the types? We are having myopia, hyperopia, and astigmatism. Here you can observe the, for this we are using cipher cylindrical lens. For myopia, we are using concave lens, and for the hyperopia, we are using convex lens. You can learn this. Next comes visual process, where light enters, it bends to the lens or the cornea, then focus on the retina, so that refractive error is done. Correction is done, so that is what I said, eyeglasses or contacts and surgery. Some limitations are also there. What is cataract? It is a clouding of a eye's natural lens that is located behind the iris, so that it scatters and blocks the light and causes a blurry or dim vision. How it affects how lens and retina function in that, and what are the types of cataracts we are having with the description. Go through that. Short notes on the lens material. What are the materials we use for making these lens, are properties what they should have, and why do we need that, the types of metals we are having. You can go through this. Then what are the uses of that lenses? You can go through. Next comes the main important question. What is bionic eye? Explain the working of the bionic eye and the materials used in its construction. So bionic eye, it is a bioelectronic device that designed to restore the vision of the people suffering from the retinal degeneration diseases like retinitis pigmentosa or the age-related macular degeneration. It is said to be an artificial retina that captures the visual information and sends back to the brain. You can see there is a camera here. It captures the image and sends the information to the microprocessor. Okay, here microprocessor. It's an electronic receiver implanted in our brain. So this converts the data into the electrical signal and transmits it to the receiver again. Okay, here. So receiver, it sends the signal through a tiny cable to an electrode panel implanted by the doctors on back wall of the eye retina. On the eye retina, there will be there. Okay, so from that, see, implanted here. So the retina implant emits the pulses which travel through the optical nerve to the brain. Finally, it goes to the optical nerve. You can observe the brain receives the pattern of the light and dark, which corresponds to the electrode simulated on the retinal implant. Clear? So it is like this. Also, they use, there will be eyeglasses with a camera. So this is our bionic eye. Okay. Working is image is captured, a miniature camera is mounted on the glasses capture the visual sense, then signal is processed, then there will be transmission, stimulation, and perception. That is what I explained with the diagram. What are the materials used in the construction? For the each of them, the materials are used for what purpose they are used. Short note on heart as a pump system. Here heart is a double pump. One is right side heart and left side. Right side is pulmonary circulation. Left side is systemic circulation. Oral structure, we are having 4 chambers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right atrium, left ventricle, and right ventricle. Enclosed in a pericardial sac. Walls are 3 walls: epicardium, which is outer; myocardium, which is a muscular layer and pumps; and the endocardium is the inner lining. Blood flow through the heart. How it flows? See, I'll explain you. Listen. From the heart, it comes to the superior vena cava here. It enters and it comes to the right atrium. From the right atrium, we are having a tricuspid valve, from which it enters the right ventricle. Okay, right ventricle. Now from here, the blood moves to the pulmonary valve. From here, pulmonary valve, it moves to the pulmonary artery and it is sent to the lungs. This blue one. Next comes the blood from the lungs. They come to this red color one, pulmonary vein. Okay, from the pulmonary vein, it enters the left atrium. Next, it comes to the bicuspid valve. It enters the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it goes to the aortic valve and it enters to the aorta and it is circulated to the body. Clear? Fine. Next, heart functions. It beats 70 to 80 times per minute. Pump blood up to 30 feet. And oxygen supply to blood. Myocardium needs continuous oxygen and nutrients. It is supplied to coronary blood vessel. It removes the CO2 and waste from the heart muscle cells. What is ECG? Important question. Describe the various parts of ECG. Electrocardiogram is a diagnostic tool that is used to measure the electrical activity of the heart over time using the electrodes placed on the skin. It helps detect heart conditions such as heart attacks and many more. What is its measure? It measures the impulses generated by the heart using the cardiac cycle, heart rate and rhythm, abnormalities in the condition or in the heart tissue damage. So there are various patterns we observe in the ECG. First, we'll go to this P wave, the first one. Okay, this represents the atrial depolarization. It caused by the electrical activity of the SA node. Duration is 0.08 to 0.10 second. Next comes the QRS complex, this one, QRS. So here it's a ventricle depolarization. This is stronger and sharper than the P wave. Duration and things refer. See this Q wave, it is first negative deflection, then comes the first positive deflection and the negative deflection after the R. T wave, see here, it is a ventricular depolarization. It is upright and it is smooth. Now coming to the intervals, we are having P and R interval. PR interval, this is a time from onset of P to the start of the QRS. ST. See, ST, here it is a flat line between the QRS complex and the T wave. Important for diagnosing myocardial infarction. Next, last comes the QT. This is a time when the Q starts and end of the T. Reflects the total time of the ventricle polarization and the depolarization. You can add some important points to that. Next comes the mention the reasons for atrial blockages and give the account on the stent design and main materials used in it. Okay, so what are the reasons for the atrial blockages? One is it is blocked. What the blood flow through the arteries is blocked. First, erythrocytosis, it's buildup of the plaque, that is fat or the cholesterol in the artery walls, it blocks. Okay. Next, blood clots, here formation of the clots, so that block the arteries. Inflammation or injury, then the lifestyle factors. So stunt, see, this is a stunt, how this is a plaque that is present. So the balloon catheter is inserted. So this is how the stunt looks. A stunt, it is a mesh-like tube inserted in the blocked arteries to keep them open and maintain the blood flow. So it is a cylindrical compatible mesh expanded using a balloon catheter, then maybe a bare metal or a drug eluting. What are the materials used here is, so these are nithinol, cobalt, chromium alloy polymers, and drug coating is done to prevent the tissue growth. Next comes pacemakers. You have to write a short note if they ask. It's a small electronic device implanted on the chest to regulate the heartbeat, especially in case of the slow heart rate or irregular heartbeat. It's placed on the heart chest part. Okay. What is this part? Is pulse generator. It generates the electrical pulses to control heart rate. So this is a 1 to 3 wire placed on the heart chamber. Now delivers the pulses to the heart muscle and leadless pacemakers. There are types of pacemakers, so how it is used when it is used. Defibrillators, it is a device that is delivers electric shock to the heart to restore the normal rhythm during the irregular heartbeats or the cardiac arrest. So we are having many types of defibrillators. This is a AED, this is ICD, and this is WCD. This was all about the part 1. So I'll be uploading the part 2 shortly. Please go through that and be prepared for the exams. Stay subscribed to the channel for more modules. Thank you.